Welcome to Father Chris, and thank you to him in advance for doing this. This is going to be a wonderful session together with everyone else. Many of you know Father Chris. He was appointed recently in May of 2020 to be director, the camp director at Antiochian Village camp after spending, Father Chris, in your bio, 13 years serving the camp in a variety of positions, including the last 7 as assistant to the camp director, assistant to Father Anthony Yaji. Father Chris holds a Master of Divinity degree from Holy Cross, Greek Orthodox School of Theology, and a Master of Social Work from the University of Pittsburgh. Outside of his camp director responsibilities, in his bio, it says Father Chris works as a licensed social worker, providing counseling to individuals, couples, and families of all ages and backgrounds who struggle with a variety of mental health issues. Pani and I continue to get to know Father Chris better and better as we interact in the camping world and outside of the camping world. Father Chris, very, very happy to have you presenting to us today. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you all, and so awesome to see some familiar faces and some new faces here. As Father Stephen said, I did go to Pitt because I wanted to highlight that. Thank you, Father Anastasios, for putting that in the chat box. Hail to Pitt. He and I actually went to Pitt together undergrad, and then we went to seminary together. So it was really, really a lot of fun. We were in OCF together, and now we get to serve as priests together. So it's been a blast. But I will say, as Father Stephen alluded to, yeah, I'm kind of like Peter Pan. I never grew up. I'm still here. I grew up coming to this camp. I absolutely love it. Camp is so much fun. You guys all know that. That's why you're here, because we're all camp people. Helen Preg was just telling us that she's been at camp for over 60 years, right? That's absolutely amazing. So it's a lot of fun. And so I'm excited to talk to you all. And I would like to make this more of a discussion if we can. So feel free. I've got it on, like, I can see all the screens. Feel free to turn your camera on, raise your hand, whatever, unmute yourself, jump in, ask a question, make a comment. Would love to hear from you guys, because you guys know a lot more than I do. So it'd be great to hear from you too. But I want to start by asking everyone to do something. I want everyone to think about a time or times in your life where you really grew as a person. A time in your life where you really grew as a person. And if anyone's willing, I'd love to have like maybe 2 or 3 examples if anyone's willing to share that. Could be a moment, could be a time period.
And that was a really changing moment in my life, I would say.
Awesome. I appreciate your example. And anybody else want to share kind of a time in their life when they experienced a lot of growth? Who here has a time? Yeah, sorry, Father Stephen, go ahead.
Sorry, I apologize. I would just mention, for me personally, I went to a Jesuit school up in Buffalo, New York for my undergrad, Canisius College up there, and was introduced to retreats sort of through the campus ministry office there. And at one point in my college career, right after graduating from college, I went on a retreat at a Franciscan monastery called Stella Niagara up on Lake Erie, right on Lake Erie. And it was just an individual retreat. I've been introduced to retreats again through campus ministry, and had gone on student retreats with just a few people and whatnot, and it always enjoyed them and really got a lot out of them. But this particular retreat, it was after graduating from college, before I had answered the call to go to seminary, and I met a group of Franciscans, including one particular woman who was an artist. Sister Yvonne Kelchin was her name. And it was really a wonderful experience being around them and seeing them devote themselves to God, even though it was outside of the Orthodox faith. And then to meet individually with Franciscan priests as I was sort of discerning and trying to figure out my vocation. But that was it was just a 3-day retreat, and it was really formative in what I would eventually say yes to.
Awesome. Thank you, Father. So here's my question for the group, and just raising hands. Does anyone have something in their mind of a time period where they really felt like they grew as a person? Okay. Out of those people, how many of those times really involved some kind of change or difficulty or challenge that you had to face? Exactly. And whenever we ask this question, without fail, like, I'm no statistician, but probably over 90% of the time, the answer has to do with some major change or some major challenge that you faced. And so, yeah, I mean, and that's really where we grow the most as people. And this is why challenge courses or ropes courses work so well, because we get people out of their comfort zone, 30 feet in the air, up in the trees. We say, okay, your life is now literally in the hands of someone else. Go have fun. At least for me, that's not my idea of fun. That's a little bit scary. So, of course, I'm going to grow closer and I'm going to feel a bond with whoever's got my life in their hands down below. So, ropes courses are really a good example. And as Helen and Father Stephen, as you both mentioned, both of yours involved major change in your life. And so, what can we learn from this? Most growth, almost all of growth, we could say, is the result of change or being stressed or being broken down somehow. Think about like working out, like people who are, like real big muscle guys, clearly not me, but guys who work out a lot. What's the whole premise of exercising? We're literally destroying the muscle so that the muscle can then get protein and rebuild itself stronger. But the only way it gets stronger, the only way it builds bigger, is if we literally build the muscle, tear it apart. And so we as Christians are not that different. I mean, think about the church. Can anybody think about any examples in the church where we tear down so we can build back stronger?
Great Lent sounds like that kind of an opportunity.
That's a huge one, right? Great
Tear
Lent.
down the false part of ourselves and die in a way to ourselves so that we can die with Christ, but then also rise with him into newness of life, to joy, into love, into forgiveness, into the fruits of the Spirit.
There you go. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, Pascha is like the biggest one, right? But that whole journey of Lent, I mean, we're literally fasting so that we can feast, right? We are confessing so that we can be renewed. Father David Subu said he goes to parish council meetings and that breaks him down. But I mean, we do so many things in the church. Every sacrament. I mean, think about marriage, right? We are literally dying to ourselves so that we can be renewed in this new relationship with Christ and this other person. Ordination, we're dying to ourselves so that we can get this fancy collar. And so much of the church, everything about the church is dying so that we can, I mean, Christ himself, he literally had to physically die so he could rise again, so he could save us from our sins and give us the opportunity to live with him in eternity. So when we look at our lives, so much of our lives are littered with examples of how we have to break down so that we can grow back even stronger and better. And how many people do we know that the answer to their question, that first question I asked, a really challenging time in your life, how many people do we know that their answer is now going to be COVID or the year of 2020? Because this last year has brought a lot of hardships, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of challenges for us, for other people. Maybe some of us even know someone. I mean, my neighbor, God rest his soul, just died a couple weeks ago from COVID. We know people who have lost jobs, who have been affected by it. Maybe some of us have been affected by it in certain ways. And it's easy to look back on our life and think of a challenging time. So what's this mean for our camps, right? That's why we're here, for youth work, for camping. What does it all mean? Well, I want us to first really focus on being mindful of how the campers and the staff are going to be. Because the fact is, they have changed in the last year, just like we have. I've changed in the last year. We all do. I imagine seeing our campers, like I'm picturing like Andrew's kids when they come back to camp. They were already 6 feet tall. Now they might be 8 feet tall. I don't know. But like they're going to be so different because it's going to be for us, at least 2, maybe 3 years between seeing these kids, and there's a lot going on in their lives. And let's imagine life as a teenager. I mean, remember being a teenager, an adolescent who's still figuring out the world, who doesn't have all the tools to cope with challenges, whose brain is not fully developed, who's trying to figure out where they fit in the world. I mean, as Father mentioned, I do some counseling, and I see a couple of kids and they're really having a hard time with this. Like they really are struggling with this stuff. And so our campers are no different. I mean, how has COVID affected them? I mean, think about teenagers, adolescents, even us, how much we need community. Um, and for a lot of these kids, this might be the most difficult thing they've ever faced in their lives. Their lives aren't that long yet. And so the fact is, where are our kids coming from? What are they going through? Because whenever they do come back to camp, whether that's this year or 2022, whenever it is, they're going to be bringing back all this stuff with them to camp and laying it for us. And we have the opportunity to be there for them and be there with them.
That basket for kids.
And so,
I'm trying to
we
make a
always-
basket of slippers for our guests.
we always say at camp that we put the campers first, right? But what is it that the kids really need right now? So meeting them where they're at might be a little different than it's been in the past. Being there with them might look a little different than it has in the past. And that's important. Those are important things for us to really ask ourselves and to look at. They might not have the tools to be getting through it right now. They might be really struggling right now. You know, there's still a lot of fear and a lot of death. I think about campers, you know, who I've heard from for the village. We've got twin 13-year-old girls who lost their dad from COVID, and their parents are already divorced. So they're 13-year-old girls. I mean, and we say haram, like poor things. I mean, I can't imagine. Gosh, several months ago, I remember talking to a 16-year-old boy because one of our counselors texted me and said, hey, he's suicidal. So I immediately reached out to him and had a really good conversation with him that night because he's really struggling with suicidal thoughts. One of our clergy, his daughter is 15 years old, and he was telling me that she's now into like witchcraft cards and like all kinds of demonic stuff. And he told me, he said, I can't make this up. Literally, she was introduced to this stuff in the very 2 weeks she would have been at camp last summer. So like the devil is doing work. This is real stuff. He's doing work. But the good stuff is, so is Christ. And we have that opportunity as ministers in Christ's vineyard. We have that opportunity to be his instruments and to do the work that Christ sets out. And so if Christ died so we could live, if we break down so we can grow, what does that mean for our campers who have broken down this year? Because a lot of them are not getting their social circles that they're used to, their church circles. They're not getting to go to church like they're used to. So much is changing. And so now that we kind of are asking the question about like, what about our campers? What's it look like for our campers? Okay, the next step is let's look at our programs, because our programs exist to meet the needs of our campers. So once we talk about our campers, now we can start looking at our programs. Okay, how can we rebuild our programs for the campers so we can better serve them? Like I said, we always say campers for the camper. Well, how does camp need to be different this year or next year or whatever it is, or right now? How does camp need to be different so that we can meet those needs and give the campers exactly what they need? We might have to meet them in new ways, in new places, you know, considering what they're going through. It's a time of huge change. And we as camps, I mean, we've been broken down, right? At least me personally, not having camp kills me. I mean, I'm blessed to come to work every day here at our office here at the village, and my view looks out at the field. And so often I just look at that field and just think, man, that should be full of kids. Like I miss seeing those kids running around. I miss having families come for family camp and seeing families drop their kids off for summer camp. Really got that void. We miss that. We're not getting to see our campers. Our staff is struggling because they don't have the opportunity to serve campers as they so desperately crave to do. I mean, our staff last summer was great, but like they really missed that hands-on experience with the kids. So we as Christians, right? We as youth workers, but more importantly, we as Christians, we as servants of God, we have a question that we have to answer. We have a choice we have to make. Will we stay broken down? Or are we going to use this as an opportunity to rebuild stronger than before? Now, I'll just give you some examples to kind of get you thinking, but here at AV, that's something we've tried to do a lot over the last several months. We've spent a lot of time in our meeting room where we have taken a look at our mission statement, our vision, our goals. We're reimagining stuff. We're kind of trying to go back to the basics and think, okay, what do we want our goals to be? What do we want our vision to be? I'll give you an example. We, with the blessing of Metropolitan Joseph, we tweaked our mission statement a little bit. We changed it so it's no longer just for young people and families. It's just Antiochian Village transforms lives and nurtures faith, blah, blah, blah for the rest of it. But because we believe that whoever comes to Antiochian Village is our opportunity to minister to them. And so we're trying to kind of rebuild from the ground up in positive ways and try to, so that when we do have campers come back through our gates, that we'll be able to better minister to them than even before. We're taking a chance to really focus on our alumni. We believe our alumni is important, not because we want their money, although we'll take it if they want to give it, but because we believe it's important to involve our alumni and show them that this place is for them too. I mean, it's for everybody, and we want people to know that. So, and this is something we want to do every year. We want to relook at our vision and our goals and reevaluate every fall so that it's continuing to be fresh, so that we can continue to break down and rebuild as Christ teaches us to do. And I want us to ask ourselves the question, who's camp for? I mean, is it just for the kids? When we asked ourselves the question, well, let me ask you that. Who do you guys believe camp is for? Chris, yeah. It's for you.
Oh,
yeah.
just like staff, everyone.
Staff, awesome. Who else is camp for?
I think it's for the church as a whole.
Yeah. Tell me more, Father Moses.
Well, I mean, you hear the old adage, if you don't hear crying, your church is dying. Well, if the kids aren't into the faith, then they're not going to stay in it as they get older. And we all know where that leads.
Yeah. I mean, I truly believe camp is not just for 9 to 17-year-olds. I believe it's for everybody. We even have an adult camp program because we want everybody to have an opportunity to come. But even beyond that, if we just look at our kids at summer camp, I mean, when they go back home, they're affecting their parents, or their parents come and drop them off. Maybe they're affected when they come here and they see the love and the Christ-centered environment we have here. I mean, we can only do so much in 12 days here. The important work really happens in the home. So we really need the parents to be our campers too. So camp is for the camper, but I look at campers as everybody, myself included. I'm a camper too. And so I want to encourage us to really ask ourselves this question: who is camp for? Who are we really ministering to? And how can we minister to them? Because to me, it's everybody. And so then the $1 million question, right? How do we build back stronger? How do we build back better? Well, okay. Trying to be practical here, right? What will the changes this summer or next summer, whenever we can go back safely, what are they going to look like? Fact is, we might not be able to have camp again this summer. I know kids aren't going to be vaccinated. It's going to be up to our hierarchs, of course, and we pray that the Holy Spirit guides them. But the fact is, if we can't have camp in person like we're used to, overnight camp, and even if we can, it's going to look different. But how can we build back stronger? Well, imagine this opportunity, right? We didn't have camp last summer. Think about camp culture. Think about your staff culture, right? That's something we've talked a lot about. What do we want to kind of take out? What do we want to kind of add in? This is the opportunity to do it. When you look at like a summer camp staff, there's a lot of turnover typically within 2 to 3 years because kids are going through college and they typically get jobs and internships. And so this is an awesome opportunity to really look at our staff culture and say, okay, how can we make it even better? What's not working with it? What is working with it? What do we want to do to continue that? What changes are we going to make? And then what do the campers need? How do we bring them closer to Christ? I've thought about how challenging camp is going to be if we are allowed to have it, but what's best for the kids? Well, camp is best for the kids. I mean, kids need camp. We know that. But what does that mean, right? Does that mean kids need camp? That statement, that statement right there. Does that mean that kids need to go live in cabins and eat in a dining hall and sing weird songs and do funny dances? what does it mean that kids need camp? And I want to ask you that.
They need the connection.
Beautiful.
They need the connection between like-minded kids. I mean, they need that environment, that singing the funny song, staying in the cabin, all those things, that is camp too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hard one right now.
Right.
They need Christ in their lives that has no other like stresses in their lives. And it's just having Christ in their life for, if it's just 1 week, but I think that's important.
So let me ask you this. All of us who run a camping program or are involved with a parish ministry or something, what's common across all of us? Because not the facilities, what's common across all of us and everything we do?
The services, the faith.
Faith.
I mean, the structure is essentially the same no matter what it is. Everyone's going to have morning prayers and, so there's a bit of a structure and it's all infused with our faith.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. To me, it's Christ-centered environments, which is exactly what you're saying, right? To me, that's what makes camp so fun. That's what makes it so special. That's what makes it so addicting, because a Christ-centered environment is literally how we're created to be. Like, that's just in our spiritual DNA. That's what we crave. That's what we need. So of course we're going to love it when we're here, and so that's what's so special about camp. So when we say kids need camp, what we're really saying is that kids need Christ-centered environments. Okay, we're camp people, right? We can work with that because we're creative. We can do this, right? We might have to bring camp. What we're really saying is we might have to bring Christ to campers in creative ways. Like, I know the last year, like, we did virtual camp and that was great. Maybe we want to continue doing some sort of that, or some virtual way to connect kids. Personally, I think a lot of kids are virtualed out for the most part, and maybe we want to start thinking about other ways, other things we can do. And I'd encourage all of us to really start thinking a couple steps ahead. I mean, last year, COVID crept up on us and out of nowhere, it just kind of hit us. And then in March, we were all kind of scrambling, like, what in the world do we do? Now we can really plan. Granted, we might have 4 or 5 different plans going on in our heads at the same time, but at least we can start thinking about this, right? And start praying about it. And I'll just share with you kind of what we're thinking. If camp is canceled, we're thinking, what's a safe way we can bring camp to the kids? Maybe we go visit parishes and run a day of camp at their church in the parking lots and the church halls where we can be socially distanced and they can be geographically, separated with their fellow campers. We can refocus on our alumni. We can reach out to them and kind of bring them back into the fold. I'd love to know. I mean, are there other ideas that you guys
have? We've been having conversation about, we usually have about 70 kids for 4 weeks. We have cabins, obviously, and communal dining. All our activities are, all the kids are all together. So we have been thinking in terms of just maybe do smaller groups or groups by age. We have to follow Illinois guidelines. So we do not know. We'll have to decide, I'm assuming, in May or June. And, we're going to wait and see if it's possible to even have camp, basically. So that's so far it's kind of hanging up in the air.
I want to, if I could follow that up, our Metropolis of Boston winter camp is going to be held at the parishes, just like Father Chris had illustrated. And we're actually hosting one. And, we brought up the same concerns about the state guidelines and, not having to have, more than 15 people for a gathering and all that stuff. And, we were asked to look at it from a different perspective. So, worship, you're able to have 25% of capacity in Rhode Island and most states in New England. And worship for us as Orthodox Christians, we can imagine is just kind of standing there, right? And, being socially distant and having a service. But in the in Protestant terms, worship can mean a variety of things, not just standing in one place. So worship can mean, having breakout discussions. It could mean, doing a variety of activities that are still socially distant, but still fit the guidelines for a worship activity, if that makes sense, which was something that I had never heard before. So I don't know, Father Chris, if you had any input on that, or what you experience in Pennsylvania with state guidelines and that kind of thing. Is it similar to what I'm saying, or?
That's a great question. Obviously, every state's going to be a little different. And I'm not sure exactly how it's going to relate to camps. I think that states might have because I know that a lot of camps are planning to operate summer camps, like YMCA camps and stuff. And I know that the American Camping Association has offered a lot of guidelines. If you are going to have camp, here's our suggestions. And it's this like 100-page document. So it's intense. There's a lot. And I think it just really depends on kind of the area. Also keep in mind too, like we draw from like a ton of different geographical areas, whereas a lot of other camps might only draw from, one city. So that's going to make a difference too. So there's a lot of different, questions to consider. I mean, for you guys, you pretty much just draw from New England, which is great because you're kind of more limited, which is going to, work in your favor. So there's a lot to kind of consider there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. But kind of wrapping up at least my piece of what I wanted to talk about was just reminding all of us, myself included, right? I need to remind myself of this so I stay positive. And that is that Christ, the church, teaches us to break down so we can build up stronger. It's just how it is. And we got to remember that he died so he could rise again. We're going to get through this. The church has survived much worse things, but to really look at this as an opportunity to rebuild, an opportunity to improve, an opportunity to grow closer to Christ, to build programs that are going to be better for our campers, God willing, and continue to try to improve. And so let's take advantage of the opportunity. Let's build back even stronger and offer Christ to our campers, however we define campers, right? But offer Christ to everyone, in an even more effective way. So appreciate you guys, kind of hearing me out. But now I think we have about 25 minutes or so to talk, to ask questions, share ideas.
Father Chris?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sherry. The floor is open to all of us.
Okay. I love that idea of taking it on the road. That really excites me. And I can really imagine, all of us here, all people that would be involved, alums, whatever, could think of their favorite icebreakers, their favorite camp games, and reimagine them socially distanced, just, working around that need to be masked and socially distanced. I bet there's a lot of fun things that we could come up with. And, you could social distance around a campfire at the end, and you could still share with masks on. I don't think there'd be any problem with that, but I think that's a wonderful idea.
Thanks. And just to kind of share too, because we've thought through this idea a little bit, this is an idea actually that we've already been doing the last 10 years or so. In the fall, we'll visit a parish, say like Indianapolis, where Deacon Joseph is out there, and we'll go visit St. George, and we'll run a day of camp on a Saturday, and we call it Village at Home. But actually our idea then this summer is to kind of beef that up a little bit more. So it's more like camp, or we'll have our cabin time discussions, or we'll have this, we'll have that. It's going to take a lot of planning, a lot of organization, again, if we have to go this route. But we were even talking about calling it like AV on Tour and having like tour t-shirts or something. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but yeah, I'd love to know other thoughts or ideas or questions that people might have for either myself or the group. Father Stephen has ton of experience and Pani Daria in camping. So they're a wealth of knowledge too. So.
Well, Father Chris, what I'm thinking is I'm very much hoping that your AV tent revival stops here. That you have a big tent and a big revival, and one of your stops on tour is here. You know, and you can sort of like picture these things because, you know, it was interesting what Father Nick was saying about how sort of things are viewed differently by maybe another Christian church. And when he was talking, then when you were talking, I'm thinking revival. But it goes along with sort of your theme, you know, that it is the opportunity for something different, for growth. And I have no doubt that the things that we've learned will be carried forward. But I do love the idea of on the road. And Sherry mentioned campfire. I don't think I'm ever going to call it a campfire ever again, Sherry, because in order to be socially distant, it's going to be a bonfire. And those wooden logs are going to be telephone poles so that you can see the campfire from 100 yards away and maintain social distance. We have a song that we do, and you guys may be familiar with it, called Ukulele. And it starts off where two clans are distant from one another, and they begin to get closer and closer. And as they get closer and closer, the song gets louder and louder. We're going to be able to scream, and it's not going to be a problem. And I don't think I'm ever going to have a headache from a campfire ever again because I won't be that close to anybody.
Yeah, we have a 7-acre field next to the rectory that belongs to the church. I mean, it's a natural, you know.
My office overlooks our fire pit, so I got a great view of it. I don't even go outside to enjoy it.
So the one thing that we were discussing, I mean, Camp St. George is a pretty small camp, and we're spread out, you know, all over the Midwest. And one of the discussions we were actually having was the fact that when we were looking at our hometowns, so for example, for me, like Madison, what we were finding out is that we have campers from multiple jurisdictions living in the same town, but yet all of our jurisdictions are trying to do our own thing. And the problem is that when you do that, yeah, so for us, we'd have 6 kids in Madison, yay. Where if we grouped or did the pan camping activity, we would end up with like 60 kids at a state park, being able to social distance, being able to be outside. I mean, the state parks are open. There's nothing to say you can't conveniently meet there and have some kind of pan-Orthodox activity. That was one of the discussions, because we were looking at Iowa City, we were looking at Madison and Milwaukee, even Chicago, because I know Chicago's got kids that are going to, I think, 6 different camps. I mean, but yet when you take one jurisdiction, there's only a handful of kids from that camp. So that's an option we were looking at too. And again, keeping it social distance and following the guidelines of the state is obviously what we have to do, but there's definitely ways to have hometown camps or pan-Orthodox camps.
Andrew, I'm glad you said that. We were working last year with the Antiochians, the OCA in New England and the Antiochians in New England. We were planning a joint camp between the two of us, and obviously it got called off, but I think we're still going forward with that plan. And I mean, it doubles the kids, just those 2 jurisdictions. So like you're saying, if we could, you know, in the future, when things clear up, you could have these super camps, which would be amazing. But, you know, it starts with one jurisdiction contacting another one in the local area.
And as we heard on the film last night, that's what the kids want. They want to mingle with other jurisdictions.
You know, we do that fairly successfully in Minneapolis. I know someone else mentioned that. You know, definitely the GOA and the OCA are the big proponents of that, but we do everything from the Twin Cities. We also have the Antiochians obviously participate, and so not always, but our campers tend to come, and we try to keep within about a 2 or 3 hour radius. We're having the same issue that here in Minnesota, you can't have currently overnight camp. They're less restrictive in Wisconsin, but I mean, is that good for the campers? But we, this has probably been going on for easily 25, 30 years, and it's very, very successful. And so you see a lot of that, whether it's marriages or a lot of friendships. And from there, the past 2 years, we've had like a big pan-Orthodox dance where they come together like a camp reunion. So yeah, we're kind of big proponents. We're so far away from anything else, any diocesan camp, obviously for our people to go to the village. Some do, but it's quite some time. But it works really, really well. And the summer camp task force is pan-Orthodox. We meet 4 or 5 times a year. So
I think those are all awesome ideas, especially, when you're talking about not having a whole lot of kids in certain areas. So I think there's a lot of potential, and I know that we can do a lot of awesome things. Other things we can be doing, just some random thoughts of like, we can be reaching out to kids right now. I mean, our staff, at least we've found that like our staff is this unending like ball of energy that they just have like this need to like give. So it's like, all right, how can we harness that energy and put it in the right direction? I mean, they love reaching out to the kids. They love being those positive role models. Eli's shaking his head because he's one of them, right? Him and Joseph. And like, take advantage of that. Like, let them just run wild in the right direction. Harness that energy, put it in the right direction. I'll tell you one thing that I've started doing the last couple of months. And I tell you this because it's really meant a lot to our campers. Is I've been calling them on their birthdays. I just like went into our like system, and like a couple months ago, I got a call on my birthday, and I was like, that actually meant a lot. I should call our campers. So I like made a big list of like all of our campers and their birthdays, and I try to call them, every day and just wish them a happy birthday. And it usually goes to voicemail anyway because they don't recognize my number. That's fine. I leave a message. It takes a few minutes out of the day, and it's been an awesome opportunity for me to get to connect with some of the kids and the parents and get to talk to them for a few minutes and let them know that Antiochian Village is thinking about you. We're praying for you. We love you. We miss you. So little things like that can really go a long way. And I found that, Facebook posts are great and all, but like a phone call is really personal. It really means a lot to people. So little things like that. And you can always break them up. We're like, Chris, for like Camp St. Raphael, like you take some of these and then Aaron takes some of the other ones. Yeah, boy. There's a lot of different things we can do, but the more we can be reaching out to our kids, just the better.
Something we've been doing in our parish here at St. George is with the restrictions, our choir hasn't felt comfortable singing. So we had to come up with a solution for something to be sung for the churches. And so we went in on the Antiochian Village site, printed out the camp service book, put those out throughout the church, and we have our campers, and campers, we have the 9 and 10-year-old kids, and we have them all the way up to my age and Father Anthony and all this who know this music from all the years. And so we're all able to participate. And so you have the whole parish now singing that music that was being done at the camp. And it's being led by some of our more recent campers. And we've really said, we need you to be the strong voices here. And it's given them empowerment and given them encouragement to show up and be a part of everything.
Father, do they sing at the church socially distanced, or are they singing virtually along with streaming?
Yeah, so we're able to accommodate 200 people in our facility right now because our church is so large. Our upstairs nave is able to hold, 400 or 500 people on if we weren't socially distanced, we're rated for 630 up there, but we would never do that. You'd have to take out all the chairs, and we have chairs too, so that helps, with marking off things and socially distancing that way. And then we put in a very large, a very expensive streaming system. And so we've turned our hall into extra seating. So we're able to fit 100 people in our nave and 100 people in our hall, all socially distant. And, we're still telling people to wear their mask. So they're wearing the mask, but when you have 100 people up there and they're all singing, I mean, it works.
Sounds great.
This past Christmas, for the first time, we sent out Christmas cards from camp. And we went back 3 years to all of our staff and our kids. And it was a great connection because now they're reaching out to us, or they sent us a card saying, oh, thinking of camp and stuff. So it's just, there's definitely more interaction now off season, that we're kind of going in different directions.
Yeah, that was an unintended benefit of the cards. We didn't think we'd get cards back. We just sent a camp in a snow globe. Father Jonathan Bannon, who spoke earlier today, designed the card for us, and it was basically camp in a snow globe, the camp church, and sent out. But then they started sending their family pictures and family cards to camp, which was really, really great and wonderful to receive. One of the things that we're also doing, and maybe you guys know better than I do, I don't know that there's I know we can use tools of others. I don't know that there's I know, like, you can have a Facebook group. That's a Facebook group, and you can use Facebook in order to have a group of people communicating with each other. I don't think we have like an Orthodox app like that, an Orthodox program like that. But what we did was we used the homeroom website and the homeroom app, and basically have gotten the kids together over the course of time in these homerooms where they can post pictures, post videos, post messages to one another by age group across the diocese, so that they can interact in their life of faith. And it's very sort of specifically targeted. It is to get people to know each other, but we offer each week a challenge. So the first week's challenge was, one of the first week's challenges was, post a picture of your parish priest and tell us a fun fact about him. The whole idea behind that challenge was call your priest or email your priest, talk with him, get a picture with him if you can, or a picture of him. And in other words, foster that connection at the parish level, but do it through the diocese. Foster that connection with their spiritual leader at their parish. DoorDash challenge, VIP challenge. These are things where go and shop for a elderly member of your parish. Don't tell them you're doing it. Maybe we make it anonymous, maybe we don't, and shop for them. Leave it at their doorstep with a card. Post a picture of yourself or whatever, or even them if we don't make it something that's, anonymous. But engage the kids and have them act in a way, Sherry was mentioning it earlier, action oriented through these challenges. And it allows them to see each other doing it. It helps them, foster connection, and it supports them. They each support each other because they see the other doing, oh, that is so cool about your priest. That is so cool that you shop for this member of your parish. That's so cool that you found out this fun fact about them, that kind of thing. And there's interaction back and forth. I don't know of an Orthodox site that does that. We just use other people's tools. That was a lot, Father Chris, sorry.
That's such a cool idea. I wrote that down. I love that. That's awesome, Father Stephen. Thank you for sharing that.
And the thing, you're welcome, Father Chris. The thing is, you won't see that anywhere on the net. You can't see it because it's all private. In other words, we told the parents, this is a private site. It's a private room. Nobody else has access to it. It's just your kids and the kids around the diocese that are their age, who signed up for it, who are committed to it, that kind of thing. And we asked the kids to post at least 3 times a week as part of as part of the homeroom, but you won't see it anywhere. It's not anywhere out there because we wanted it to be a safe, you talked about those Christ-centered environments, Father Chris. We wanted it to be exactly that for them.
What's the site called, Father Stephen? For the app?
We use Homeroom. It's called Homeroom. It allows you to do, the Homeroom is it's a green background with a white camera and a green apple inside of it when you look for it, but it's called Homeroom.
I'm almost thinking, I mean, that could be like an Instagram challenge for the kids. I love the thing about the priest, like post a picture of your priest and something cool about him, because that gets them interacting with their priest, and that's so special. That's important.
Well, because I don't know about you guys, but in our diocese, the things that we hear not good about kids coming back to church. It's difficult for their families, very difficult. And we were trying to think of a way to help through that until the time where they feel safe enough to come back to parish. It's a real struggle in our diocese in pockets around the diocese.
Like, how cool would it be if, Father Anastasios's parishioners, like the kids, were to post a picture of him and say he went to the best university of all time, University of Pittsburgh, Hail to Pitt. That'd be pretty cool. Not that I'm biased or anything, but
we have about 4 minutes because then we have to jump to the next session, but we also want to get a picture of everybody, of our screen.
So if everybody could turn on their videos, and we'll just take a quick screenshot of everyone. Okay, there we all are on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, we have just a few minutes left. So go ahead, Father Chris. We have 3 minutes left here.
I don't know. I mean, it's just been a blast getting to talk to you and get some ideas and hear from everybody. So really appreciate everybody joining in today, and for all the feedback that you guys offered. And just, I would say, let's just remember, we're all in this together. We're all struggling together. And my hope is that we will really grow from this, because it's an opportunity to grow. And so nothing good in life comes without challenge and struggle. So, hey, this is just another opportunity. And I really believe our camps, first of all, just remember, our kids are changing, our campers are changing. So we've got to adjust with them so that we can offer Christ to them in the way that they need. And it's just an amazing opportunity that we have, because they crave this stuff, to meet them where they're at and to love them, and just to give them what they need. So I'm excited for it whenever they do come back in person. And I'm excited for what we've been doing the last several months, but just take advantage of this opportunity, this time that we've got. Go back to the drawing board, switch things up, so thank you. I appreciate everyone.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Father Chris. Remember, everyone, the next session starts at 3 o'clock, and you join that at the other link there. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Father Chris. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Father Stephen and Pani Daria. Appreciate it.